Hey, what's going on, guys? In this video, we're going to be going back and revisiting the McFarlane Toys Pop Culture 3D poster replicas. This is the original Friday the 13th. For those curious as to how big this poster actually is, let's grab the tape measure. Putting the tape measure next to it, it's about 12.5 inches in height. Width-wise, it's approximately 8 inches wide. Continuing my re-looks at these 3D poster replicas from the folks over at McFarlane Toys, I was feeling a little bit nostalgic and had a look initially at the Nightmare on Elm Street 3D poster. Now we're going to be having a look at the Friday the 13th poster, one of my other favorites. In fact, really all of these are my favorites. I'm really glad I picked them up at the time that I did, because I think initially the price for these were about $30. Now they're a little bit, just a little bit more than $30. One thing that the Friday the 13th poster replica has that the Nightmare on Elm Street doesn't have is width. It has the actual spine running down the side, in which you've got McFarlane's Pop Culture Masterworks way at the top there, and then you've got Friday the 13th across the spine. Down below you've got McFarlane Toys. It's an attitude, but it's one thing, unfortunately, that the Nightmare on Elm Street didn't have. Not only is this cooler for displaying, because ultimately you could really display this just on a shelf as is. You wouldn't necessarily need to hang it up. But obviously it's a little bit more stable. It's not going to fall over. Hopefully it's not going to fall over. Unfortunately, the Nightmare on Elm Street just didn't have that. It was a little thinner. Well, you saw the re-review of that. So here, just by comparisons, like what we did with the Nightmare on Elm Street, over here is the 3D poster replica from McFarlane Toys. And over here is the original Friday the 13th poster. So you guys can see the differences between the two. They are very, very similar to one another. The details are much more in-depth, obviously, with this one than it is on the poster itself, but it's a pretty good, faithful reproduction of the initial poster here in the 3D poster. Getting a closer look at some of the details down below, we've got the cast, the actual characters, the stars that were in the movie itself. Down below you've got restricted, under 17 requires accompanying a parent or adult guardian. Paramount Studios on the other side there. Paramount Pictures presents Friday the 13th, a Sean S. Cunningham film starring Betsy Palmer, Adrian King, Harry Crosby, Laurie Bartram, Mark Nelson, Janine Taylor, Robbie Morgan, Kevin Bacon, there he is right there, director of photography, and so on and so forth. So really, again, it looks exactly like it does in the actual movie poster. As for the poster itself, or the reproduction of the poster, at the very top you've got, they were warned, they are doomed, and on Friday the 13th, nothing will save them. A really nice design in the sense that it's an outline of a killer. And the whole idea with the Friday the 13th, at least the original, was who exactly is the killer killing the counselors at Camp Crystal Lake. That's a lot of C's. So again, the who done it, of course, surprised many by the end of the film, but a really nice way to promote the poster. Here, about the only thing that's sticking out, shy of just a little bit of a hair there, is the blade from the knife that's dripping blood onto the 13th. Didn't even see it coming. The knife is of the more fragile aspects of the poster. As you can see, it is the only part that's really sticking out from everything else. Nightmare on Elm Street was plagued with a lot of fragile things. It's the type of thing that, taking even off the wall, about to re-review it, I was so cautious. I thought to myself, please don't let this drop, please don't let this drop, please don't let this drop. This one's a little bit more stable. But again, like, the knife would be the one thing, if anything, if you were to buy this loose, double check that the knife blade is completely intact and is not broken. By the way, just before we get to some closer up details, also on the back is your hanger, so you can just put a nail or thumbtack onto the wall, hang it up by that. There's a couple little tab points on the back, which I think initially were for brackets. They never did actually come with anything. And they should have also come with little foot stands, which also I don't think ever came with them. I may or may not be wrong by that, because I long since thrown away the packaging and ultimately just only have the movie posters now to survive. Speaking of surviving, interior of the silhouette, I guess we could call it a silhouette, is the unsuspecting counselors of Camp Crystal Lake. None of them really are easy to make out. By that, not really any of them are easy to make out either in the movie poster, but it gives you at least some pretty cool details there. Got some foliage. A foliage display only Bob Ross would love. I actually love that as well. So you've got the background here that's all been, it's basically just printed. And then you've got all the trees and stuff like that in front of it, along with the bushes, the little tree stump, and all the grass and leaves and stuff like that. You probably saw it too, like the trees. If I just move this out of the way here, you can see where the tree would have been, and then they just sculpted the branch in front of that. And these are somewhat soft rubber, not that you would want to be playing around too much with them. Again, you can kind of move that up. You can see underneath. They basically just followed the guideline of where the back of the poster would have been. The 3D aspect also plays some role with the Friday the 13th in the sense that the font is also raised out as well. A lot of times you may find myself doing this. You may see myself doing this. Just kind of taking off. Sometimes these things on walls catch cobwebs like nobody's business. One thing I do notice about the Friday the 13th one, and I can never tell whether it's dust, is that the backdrop, this part here, I always feel like when I'm rubbing it, some stuff comes off, and I don't know if it's just simply dust. It seems like it gets progressively darker. I don't know. So maybe a little bit of a dusting might have gone a long way here. But overall, it's just a really neat representation of the original Friday the 13th movie poster. Unfortunately, McFarlane Toys really only did onesies of these. So like the Alien, Nightmare on Elm Street, of course, Friday the 13th, RoboCop, all just onesies. They could have really done a great job, I think, on future Friday the 13th movie posters. Of course, the movie posters have changed over the course of time, but one of the ones that really stand out to me would be the Friday the 13th Part 4, final chapter, of course, with the blade going through the hockey mask. And then the other one that really stands out to me is also the Jason Takes Manhattan, which I also think, based on the original movie poster, and again, it's changed over the course of time, I think that would have been an outstanding 3D poster as well. But let me know down below what you guys would think would be a pretty cool movie poster back then, or even now, that McFarlane Toys could have approached with a 3D movie poster. I don't think they'd ever entertain the idea of doing it again, but man, I really wish that they would, because these are really cool physically to have in hand, and more importantly, to have on display. Yes, of all the things that McFarlane could go back and revisit, maybe put the color top still as one of your main properties, but I would really entertain the idea of going back to 3D movie posters as well. Both the 3D movie posters and the album covers, I think, were popular enough, maybe the movie posters more so, that I would think warrant maybe going at releasing them again. Property-wise, and of course licensing aside, can be the biggest problem, and McFarlane maybe just doesn't want to, get the licensing for this, get the licensing for that. But I would really, really love to see future 3D movie posters, because there's a lot of cool ones out there, especially from ones I grew up looking at. Used to always go to a video store and always used to see the cool horror-related posters up on the wall. And a lot of those movie posters I would love to see getting a 3D treatment. Not even just horror-related, but also just some of the 80s cartoons or 80s movies that I grew up watching, such as, say, The Goonies. Labyrinth would be another cool one to get in a 3D movie poster treatment. You never know, maybe one of these days McFarlane may entertain the idea of doing it again. If they do, I certainly will be picking them up. Today, though, we were going back and having a look once again at the McFarlane Toys. This is the Pop Culture Masterworks 3D poster replica of the original Friday the 13th. If you guys like this video, certainly hit it with a like. If you love this video, certainly share it with friends. And if you haven't had a chance yet to hit that little subscribe button down below, you'll never miss a beat when it comes to future videos. Make sure as well you head over to my main page and check out any old videos, any videos on the page that you maybe have not watched before. Always like to read new comments in old videos. As always, guys, thanks again for watching, as you always do. I'll see you guys next time.